top tips to mastering your craft. I really like that idea of mastering your craft. Why don't you kick us off here, Deb? Where do you want to start with this?
There's so many tips I kept thinking of when you were introducing us. Like, there's so many, but my first one is believe in yourself.
You're nice. Yes.
And that's another reframe that to one word is certainty.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't believe in yourself, you know the old saying, if you don't believe in yourself, how can others believe in you?
Absolutely.
It's so true. The truth is, believe in yourself. And that allows you to take stock of your world right there. The moment you start believing in yourself that I actually have something.
Debz is a stressologist. She will stretch your mindset to think bigger than you've ever thought before, with follow-through techniques that are realistic and achievable to blow any fear out of your mind. Moira is a mindset cultivator. She will help you align your personal trinity of self-trust, inner awareness, and self-confidence so that you discover and share your unique gifts and purpose. Together, their goal with these conversations is to share how our inclinations do not always work in our best interest and to provide the knowledge to leverage the gifts that already exist within each one of us. Their desire is to help you learn how to access the habits and behaviors that will lead to positive change and your best quality of life. Welcome to your deliciously motivated mindset.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, dear listeners. Welcome, dear Deb.
Hello.
Yeah. You've been doing that for the last few episodes of this
telephone
voice. This telephone voice. Hello.
Oh, hello.
Hello, dear listeners. Here we are with another one of our deliciously motivated mindset conversations with Debz. That would be
me.
That would be Debz.
That would be the New Zealander. With the no accent. Yep.
With she doesn't have an accent. It's only me that has the accent. And Moira, that's me. But you kind of figured that out, I'm sure, already.
That's the one. Yep.
So this is going to be an interesting conversation. Well, they're all interesting. This is a goodie. But before we get into sharing some top tips to mastering your craft, if you've been with us before for one of these episodes, you know that we like to do our PEMS check-in, and that's all about checking in on our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. And we do that on a scale of 0 to 10. And this is just a really good awareness tool. It's just to help you stay present to what's going on with you and managing your energy throughout your day. This is something because the numbers are going to change. So we rate ourselves on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 is calm, zen, blissed out, present. Nothing's discombobulating you at 0. But at 10,
I had to mute myself from coughing and hiccuping at that time. I was like, don't talk to me right now. I'm going to go to the discombobulated 10 moment right then.
And so, like I said, we move up and down that throughout our day. And so our intention with these conversations is always to meet you where you are and lovingly, kindly, inspiringly take you closer to that 0. So I encourage you to make a note of what your number is here now, and then just check in a wee bit at the midway point, and then we're all going to check in again at the end. So all that being said, my dear Deb, what would you put yourself at?
I'm a 1.5.
Aha. Okay. And I'm a 2.
Oh, okay. I think we were similar. That was
I think it's we've actually
last one, wasn't it?
I think the last one was we reversed it, but
funny.
Well, for me, I've got a bit of a scratchy throat, and I've had to already mute myself to cough, and so it's like interesting. There's something here, and oftentimes I find that when that happens for me, it's like that there's a part of me that wants to make sure that something's brought into the conversation. My head doesn't know, but something's going on with me, and so we'll assess that at the end.
We'll check in where that's sitting.
Yes, we will check in at the end and see where that's sitting. So dear listeners, we encourage you to grab your note-taking device and your pen, pencil, paper, your note-taking electronics, whatever it is that's for you, because we intend, and we always do this, we just riff on these ideas and then share tips to help inspire you and uplift you and align you with the truth of who you really are at the depths of your core. So top tips to mastering your craft. I really like that idea of mastering your craft. Why don't you kick us off here, Deb? Where do you want to start with this?
There's so many tips I kept thinking of when you were introducing us. Like, there's so many, but my first one is believe in yourself.
You're nice. Yes.
And that's another reframe that to one word is certainty. Because if you don't believe in yourself, you know the old saying, if you don't believe in yourself, how can others believe in you?
Absolutely.
Blah. It's so true. The truth is, believe in yourself. And that allows you to take stock of your world. Right there. The moment you start believing in yourself that I actually have something, or I am good at this, or this is not my jam, or I love doing this, or I don't like, just believe in yourself. And the old saying, the person with the most certainty rules the game. And life is a game. So if you have certainty, you're going to rule the game being your world, not everyone else's world. Let's just clarify that when I say you're going to rule your game. It's your world. So tip one, that was a long version of believe in yourself.
I like it. So for me, this next tip that I want to share, I'm going to frame it up as a mindset shift, because it's a mindset shift to follow your heart. Follow that which lights your heart up. And where I'm coming from with this about the idea of mastering your craft is that sometimes I'll have conversations with people who, well, they don't believe in themselves, like you were just saying, that's such an important part. But even beyond that, there is a belief that, oh, other people are gifted. Other people have a craft to master. I don't. And so it's such an important part, because the truth is every single one of us on this planet does. And so it's not about, like you said, there's so many other pieces that we need to bring into this conversation, but it's to get out of your head, come into your heart, and follow that which inspires you. That is a fundamental piece on mastering your craft, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and I'm sure you've heard my 2 words before, GB, glitter bomb. Glitter bomb, whatever lights you up. But I love that, follow your heart. And that just fills me up. When you just say follow your heart, it just makes me go, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that allowed me to even think of my tip that goes onto that is recognize you have changed. And we do this, is the old you, top tips to mastering your craft is know that maybe when you were at school, you were really good at running. And maybe now you're no longer 15 and good at running. And maybe now you are 60 and you can't run and you're walking. Right. So acknowledge, and that's an extreme. That's an extreme. I've just skipped 50 years or
15 to 60. That's a big leap.
That's it. Yeah. So just acknowledge that you've changed, because our body changes, our world changes, our education. Who you were yesterday is different to who you were today. I've just sat on a 3-day course, and literally I was in the office from 4 a.m. yesterday morning to 9:30 last night. So my brain capacity yesterday is very different to the person I am today.
Right. Yeah.
100%, because I did this course, I implemented some stuff. I then spoke to 3 different clients. I presented a group program, and I spoke to, a potential new mentor. And in that, my brain capacity changed and evolved and flipped. So when I say this, mastering your craft, I want to acknowledge that you have changed. You are not the same person you were yesterday. Let the old you go and move forward.
I like that. So I like that a lot, and I think it's really, really important. What I just did, and this is kind of piggybacking off of what you just said.
They all seem to piggyback, don't they? Yeah.
I know. They all seem to thread together.
Surprise.
But what this is about awareness, being aware of what your bandwidth is. Because, in this mastering your craft idea, it's so important. And this is about the 4 agreements, the always do your best. That's agreement number 4 in the 4 agreements.
We haven't spoken about them for yonks, actually.
We haven't. No, it's been a wee while. But the thing about be aware what's your bandwidth. So like you just shared, Deb, that on a day where you start at 4 a.m, that just is crazy to me. I couldn't do that. But that's my bandwidth, you see.
I didn't know there was a time zone change for a start, so it could have been 5. But anyway, I sucked that one up. I found gratitude.
But you see what I'm saying is that sometimes if you've overbooked your day, I can tend to do that sometimes. So therefore maybe I can't get those 5 items ticked off my to-do list. That's okay. So mastering your craft is saying, what is my best in this moment? And being okay with that and releasing the expectations or I said I was going to get this done and I'm like, come hell or high water, I'm going to push myself through it, because that's not going to really serve you in mastering your craft either, is it?
Yeah, well, no. Yeah, well, no. And I think but I love the be aware of your bandwidth, and I'm piggy-tailing off that one. Is there such a thing as piggy-tailing?
Well, there's pigtails, but I think you meant piggybacking.
Piggybacking. I've just clearly I had too many hours in the office yesterday, so yeah, we'll just discombobulate my words here. So piggybacking is speak up. And when I say speak up, I'm talking about speak up from the heart. And be okay if the heart doesn't come out, but the head attack comes. Like, it's okay, because sometimes that happens. But speak up and just share what's going on around you with people, and just say, hey, look, I'm a little bit fragile today, or whatever. Just, can you just give me some space, or can someone take the children, or
I need help over here, or
So if you don't, well, actually, the steps before speak up is acknowledge that there's something going on. If it's getting, be aware of your bandwidth. If you feel you're wobbling, okay, I'm just going to throw 3 things here. If you feel you're wobbling, acknowledge it. Definitely acknowledge it. And then speak up, but be clear on your get clear on your intentions. So just say, hey, look, I'm not feeling 100%. Can you give me some time? Or, hey, I just want to offload this idea to you. Can you give me some advice? Or can I just scream and shout and you just listen? It's not at you personally. So get clear on your speaking up intentions.
Right.
And then the other thing that goes with that is find your tribe. Find somebody. So these are 3 very important tips, but all condensed into one, because I went, actually, speak up. You've got to do stuff before you speak up. Maybe we could have said at the very start, in no particular order, do these things. But acknowledge it, speak up, and find your tribe. And I know Moira and I are exceptional at what we do. We know how to master our craft, and we're mastering it, evolving and changing and molding and coming with the times each time. So find your tribe, find someone who you resonate with, and reach out to them. But there are 3 tips that just came about very quickly.
I like that. I like that.
You pick up the pieces of all those.
So something that I just fell into as you were saying that is, notice the title. It says top tips to mastering your craft, not top tips to master your craft, because it's the it's the doing, it's the process, it's the
ever evolving.
And yes, absolutely. So you're never going to go, okay, I'm done, that's it. because, and to Deb's point, we both are constantly and consistently investing in mentors and coaches and courses and new products and new ideas. And I always got like at least 3, sometimes more courses on the go, like digesting and evolving. And that to me is a key component to, I like what you just said about the acknowledge, speak up, and find your tribe. And, you know, even in doing that, because we are constantly evolving and up-leveling, and sometimes a person who is your go-to person for a specific issue or area, that you can outgrow them, and you go on to the next and on to the next. And the thing is, and I've noticed this with clients and students of mine, is that takes a long time to get to if you're working with me, because I am always evolving. You know, people that have worked with me a couple of years ago will come back into my sphere and go, oh my God, look at all the things you're doing now as opposed to then. And so that's the key piece, is to always be aware of what is it you need. And I think that is that whole piece around the speak up, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. And that and speak up, when I say speak up, you know, you definitely have to get clear on your intentions, like, yes, because otherwise people will do things. But I love the ever evolving, mastering your craft. And so hearing what Moira was just saying, then I actually went study, like summing it up or putting a separate, study and implement it. Study whatever you're studying to mastering your craft, and implement it. And I worked just then, I just literally said to myself, I've done alone over 100 hours in this last 4 weeks of study. Just in study alone of courses to up level me.
Right.
You know, and that alone is pretty, I don't study that much in a condensed month, but it has been intense. I've done, you know, a level 2 in the training that I'm doing. I've done some addiction process, you know, I've got a certificate in that now. And I've just literally done, so just alone, there's probably more, but that just 100 hours of studying things, that's not the implementing side of it.
Right.
As well.
Yes,
that's me listening and partaking in those programs. But then now there's going to be more than 100 hours just to implement it. So there's myself of my learning for myself, for my evolution to master my craft, but also teaching people who I mentor, you know, in the groups and one-on-ones, and then the conversations I have with people, sharing that stuff, because that's where the golden nuggets are, is when you can share something you've learned and it flows with ease. Yes. And it just goes, wow, I've actually got it, because you're going to remember it more. You're going to retain it more if you're going to be able to share that people understand.
Yep.
So study, you know, we talked about ever evolving and mastering it, that word mastering. So study, but implement it as well. Take action. Because that's if you're just studying, you're just picking up a textbook and reading it, you put it down, and then tomorrow you've completely forgotten about it.
Right. I think that there's a wee piece in the middle of that from my way of doing it.
What, breathe?
Well, yes.
Is there a breathe and self-care?
There's self-care, breathe, put your hand on your heart, assess.
Yeah.
Well, for me, you know, because I am always studying and reading but I create this little pause in between the study and the implementation, because not everything that I study is right for me. It's good wisdom.
100%.
That I kind of go, great, I love that, but it doesn't resonate for me. It's not authentically mine. And so therefore, prior to implementing, I'm going to assess of, yep, that's the piece I'm taking, or that's the template, or that's an idea. And I'm going to synthesize it. And that to me is such an important part of mastering your craft. It's not to, you know, go, okay, I just learned 5 steps and now I'm going to teach these 5 steps. Out of the 5 steps that I learn, I might be sharing 3. because the other two just aren't part of my energy or my craft. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And also be okay with walking away. You know, when you talked about that, I did a course, and I won't tell you what type of course it was, and I paid a lot of money for a 5-day course. I flew out of my hometown, and the first day I turned up, I was like, oh, these are not my people. This is not my thing. This is not my venue. It just felt wrong. And I was like, okay, let your ego go, because definitely my ego was kicking in. The carpet smelt.
Oh dear.
I was like, I paid all this money to come into a place, and it definitely was. And then I went, no, go back the next day. Just go back with an open heart, and just get present and learn what they're teaching. And it was a lot of money, and I will say it's a lot of money. And I went back, and by morning tea time, I knew it wasn't me. And so I just spoke to the people and just said, look, this is not me. Doesn't feel right. And they were like, just stay till lunchtime. I'm like, you know what? I'm just not going to, because I feel I'm going to drag the group down with my energy. And I left, and went and had lunch, and I started writing my gratitude list for speaking up and leaving.
The experience. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was working through my list, and I got 2 opportunities come in while I was in that town, actually, because I posted on social media that I'm here and and 2 opportunities came in, and I went and spoke for 2 businesses, and I brought in 3 times the amount of money than what I'd paid for this for going thing. And it was just a beautiful experience of going, there's definitely gifts in things when you actually take ownership of who you are and what feels right. So I guess that's the thing, is trusting. Like I didn't want to. I felt, oh, Deborah, this is horrible. You're saying no to this guy. He's not the right, this is not good. This is not good. I would hate it if somebody came to me and said, your thing is shit, basically. But it was beautiful. And I got rewarded in more ways to something that was way more fulfilling. So I guess it's, if it doesn't feel right, move. Like, don't be flexible. I guess it's all down to, again.
Well, being flexible, but the thing that I just took from what you said is it's trusting your inner wisdom, trusting your intuition. So it's not about overthinking of like, oh my gosh, I don't feel right here. My favorite question, how do I feel about myself here? Yeah. Well, in this example, you felt nervous. You felt yuck. You felt like, oh God, this is so not me, not my tribe, not my thing.
It was definitely my ego was kicking in. 100% my ego was kicking, and I could feel that. And then I went, okay, just listen to him. Just listen to him. And I listened and went, oh, this doesn't, even what he's teaching me,
it doesn't
just feels wrong. This is, no, I can't. I just, I don't even want to tell people I'm learning this stuff. Like I had a physical reaction. So I stayed all day. So I was like, and that was it. So you're right. The trust your inner wisdom.
Yep. Because it doesn't, the truth is it never misleads you, ever. Even if you, like you say, even if your ego starts to creep in and sort of go, oh yeah, but I paid, or I said I was going to do it.
Well, they offered me a refund too. At the end of the actual, they came back to me and they said, oh, we understand you left. Would you like a refund? And I said, no. And if anything, I said no, because I want them to up level next time, get a nicer bloody venue. I'll give you some feedback. And I felt I was paying for them to listen to my feedback. But I was like, no, I don't want a refund, because I'd made more money by going, and it just worked out, the gifts I got from that. But I felt okay to speak up.
Right.
And good. And I spoke from that heart place.
Good for you.
Yeah.
One thing, and it actually had occurred to me a wee bit before we went into these pieces. These are awesome pieces that we just brought into this conversation, though. The tip is to release the propensity, or any propensity, to compare yourself to others.
Ugh.
We haven't talked about the comparatitis for a wee while, I don't think. But yeah, this idea of mastering your craft. Number one, you do have a craft to master, and it is a mastering process. That's what you're here in this life for. And it's an ever evolving, ever blossoming, expanding experience. However, if we get stuck by looking at how somebody else is doing it and think, oh gosh, I'm not doing it the right way. Oh, what, look at them rock and roll that successful seminar or something like that, and then go, what am I doing wrong? Because I should be out there like that too. No, this is about really honoring that you are at the right place, doing the right things, and if there's places that you need to inform yourself or learn more, then you can go and take the courses or get the mentoring or read the book, or do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that, well, I wrote a side note of that is own what's in them in you, because we have, there's over 4,700 characteristic traits, and they're in so many, they're in everybody, and we pull them out when we pull out our beautifulness, when people support us, and we pull out our other side,
our not so beautifulness.
Yeah, we pull out our aggressiveness and our dominating and our directness when people challenge us.
Right.
So acknowledge that what you have in them, because you perceive it's missing in you. So own that uniqueness in your way. So maybe, we go top tips to mastering your craft. And people actually said to me, or somebody said to me last week, they said, oh, you do a podcast? Oh, I'd love to do a podcast. Oh my God, I'd love to have, how many episodes? I'm like, oh, we're over 200 episodes. Over 200. Wow, that's amazing. And I'm like, okay, you can do a podcast. They're like, oh, I'll take ages to get to 200. And yes, you're right. It will take you a while. When we first started, we were doing one a month.
Yeah, we
were doing one a month. And it was my friend Evie in Sydney going, can you extend these? Can you bring them more frequently? Because I like to go for a run, and they're about 45, 50 minutes. And I like to go for a run and stop doing it for half an hour and one a month. I want more than one. So we're like, Moira, do you think people will listen to us once a week? Do you think? And it was, so, it was finding that. But you can do a podcast yourself, but find what it is you have. If it's just having a conversation, helping people change, look where you have that conversation to help people change.
Yeah.
Look where it is in you and know it's your way. You may not do a podcast, but you may be talking to somebody at work who talks to somebody else and who shares it with their children at school, who shares it with the teacher, who are reaching all these people. So just look at, own what's in them is within you, your way.
A quick wee message before we get back to this episode. You can get access to a special gift Moira and Debz have put together for you. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift. When you sign up, you'll receive instant access to an Inner Peace Kit and the 30 Days of Wisdom program, both of which is intended to help you feel deliciously motivated right away. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift.
Right. And because in that it's so important to acknowledge that what you see in another that you think is missing in you is not true. You couldn't see that if you didn't have it within you. So it's actually a beautiful mirror. This is mirror work, right? It's like, because the things that we don't like in another, we got some mirror thing going on in there too. But the things that we see in another that we do like, or we think, oh, that would be awesome to be like that. You have that. It is such an important reminder. Right? Yeah. So that's just comparing and thinking that you're less than.
It's a spiral. It's a hamster wheel spiral that is
crazy making, discombobulating. It's actually, if you think about it, it will derail you from mastering your craft, right? Because it's got you gone down. That's a downward spiral as opposed to the upward spiral, which is really what this is about.
The uphill spiral. My next tip I'm going to share, is it my turn?
Yes.
Or you do. I don't. Okay. Like, whose turn
I
is it?
just went all over the comparing thing.
Oh yeah. Okay. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Like, yeah, we both did that. My next one is a word that challenges me, and it's just because it's so common use. We know what it's going to say. It's self-care. And Moira's like, oh, what word challenges you today? Self-care is so important. And so I'm going to say, stay on the train, like don't quit, but know when to slow the train down.
Yeah. Find your pace. What is it
find
you
your
need?
Yeah. And if some days you want to crank the train up, then do it. And if some days you don't want to crank the train up, then don't.
Slow it down.
Slow it down and be aware of the corners but self-care, and I tried to relate the self-care into a train because you can often see that. So keep the momentum going, but also be aware. So even if you're lying on the couch or you're laying outside or whatever, your brain is still going on that train. So just be aware of what speed or where you put your energy or anything, whatever that self-care is for you, but make sure that works for you.
And also include in your self-care is we that we do our PEMS check-in, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. There needs to be aspects of all 4 of those pillars that are being attended to and looked after on your self-care practices, right?
Yeah. And I think that self-care goes back to that other one's comparison. Don't look at what other people do for self-care.
No.
Because people go, oh, I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to go for a tour. I've got a cousin. He's funny. He's so funny. He's like, oh, I'm just going to go for a run. I'll message you when I'm home. And I'm like, okay. And then, I don't know, he brings me and he sends me a screen and he's just run 45 Ks.
Oh, gosh.
I'm like, oh, God. Okay. I thought you were just going for like a little run around the block, like maybe 5 Ks or something. It's like, oh no, I just did a small one today, 45 Ks. Okay, sweet, not me. So that go back to that comparison, and that's his self-care. He likes to go for a run.
Good for him.
Okay, great. Good on you. There's no way I'm going to run 45 Ks. Like, even my self-care is not even driving 45 Ks. But so that self-care is important to the tip before of that comparison. Be aware of that. Yeah. And
I think we've talked about this on a previous conversation when we talked about self-care, is that for myself, I like to make sure, like, I have a routine, obviously, because I do walk my talk.
Yeah.
So I do, but I'm also, it's almost like I have a light hold on what my practice is in the morning, just to ensure, is this the most nurturing for me? Because I'm open and willing to change it up if it's got to the point of I was just doing it mechanically, or because this is the way I've always done it, or do you know what I mean?
Have we got Be Flexible down?
I don't think we have.
I don't think.
But
okay.
Yes, you're right. Be Flexible is definitely in the mode of what I was just saying, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So flexible with your attitude towards yourself, as well as the shoulds or the have tos or the intention setting, right? Yeah.
Well, I think with that, be flexible, because you were just, it sounded like be flexible, but also know when to stop, like know when to quit, or if you want to call it quit or stop, or just know when to opt out, know when to jump off the train.
Yeah. Yes,
but
because mastering your craft is it's the way of you sharing your unique quirkiness with the collective, as opposed to doing it because this is how you're supposed to, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes knowing when to stop is, I have to just reset or regroup and kind of come back in touch with what makes my heart sing, what lights me up, where's my sense of yes in this path of mastering my craft.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, be aware. That's that. Be aware. Open, eyes open.
Yeah.
Eyes open. I think we've got a few more to go. We've definitely got a few more to go. I just want to say, I want to go back to the word mastering, And there's just, every time I just look at my notes, I keep going back to that word mastering. And we talked about the ever evolving. And when we go into the mastering, you have to how do I put this? Reframe what mastering looks like for you. I mean, we're telling you we're giving you top tips to mastering your craft, but what does that look like for you? Because mastering may be getting 100% in your exam.
Right.
So what does mastering look like for you? We probably could have started with this one. but if mastering means get 100% in the exam, then okay, that's it. But then where do you go from there?
Right. And because there's no ing when you're doing that.
No. No, mastering my craft, I've got it. I've got my 100% in my exam. Now what?
Right. Now
Like,
what?
Now what? Because when you've got 10 out of 10, or, well, 0 out of 10 as we do with our PEMs, you know, where to from there? Because you can't, you know, we talked about our PEMs at the start. You can't be a 0 all the time. I mean, there's times I just want to have a whole day of being a 0, but I know that's a fantasy and a belief that's unachievable. Because, yeah, unless I'm going into a coma and I'm just not thinking, it's probably the only way you can probably get that 0 all day long. But what does mastering mean for you?
Right. And is it a stepped thing? Because, you know, with your example of getting 100% or 10 out of 10, what's the next course? Is there another exam or another tool or modality that you're going to put on? Yeah. But so the other thing too, my tip is to avoid feeling like you have to get it before you step up. So you know how sometimes we can get into, well, I'm thinking about perfection.
Oh, yes.
Right? So release perfection, because and we're coming back to this thing of it being a process. You know, I can remember back, this is going back a really long time ago. Before I was doing tarot readings as a service. And because I would just do them all the time, and I was doing lots of courses and training, getting a degree in tarot reading and things like that. And I always remember getting a reading done on me. And the point being was, the guidance for me was, why aren't you putting your shingle out and saying this is a service I offer and here's the rate? And for me, it was like, oh, because I haven't finished this course and I need to get that accreditation and that certification. And it was stopping me. And so it was kind of saying, so that's why I'm saying is that maybe, and this is to your point about what's next, it's like, so get the one thing and then stand up and say, I can do this, I can offer this, and enjoy it. But at the same time, be evolving your craft, which is actually the story that I'm telling you is 25 years ago. So so I kind of moved out of my own way. But that's what I'm saying is don't feel like, oh, I have to get 100% certified before I can start telling people I can do the mentoring or the coaching or the readings or the whatever it is that is your craft, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, and that swings back to that very first tip that we had, was believe in yourself with your certainty. Yeah. Now, I know we're wrapping up here. We're going to have to wrap up. We're going to have to. But I just want to end the last one before we jump into a wrapping up is celebrate your journey. And this is
that. Celebrate and appreciate.
Celebrate and appreciate. Have gratitude for what you've got around you and what you don't have around you. That's it. But celebrate your journey, because it is a journey. It's mastering your journey.
Yeah, exactly.
And whatever that looks like. Yeah.
I love that.
So should we wrap up?
Yes. That feels like of course, like we come full circle and we end up with appreciate and gratitude and celebrate, like
full circle, and here we are. So grab your grab your note-taking device, peeps, because we are going to tell you our top tips to mastering your craft, so you don't have to listen to all of our conversation prior to this. Just
we're going to go bullet point.
Yeah, we're gonna go bullet point as quick as we can.
Yep.
So over to you, Moira. Top tips to mastering your craft. Tip number one.
Tip number one was to believe in yourself, and by having, cultivating a good, strong sense of belief in yourself, self-belief allows you to have certainty.
Yeah,
that's an important part. That is very fundamental. I think that's such an important tip.
Yeah, totally. I mean, certainty just allows you to go, on its own.
Yeah.
The next one we had is follow your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say follow your heart, because it's and I reference, often I'll talk about glitter bomb, but follow your heart because your heart doesn't lie to you. It just feels right, and it's not forced. It's not someone else's opinion. Like, it just feels right, and that's the best way to go is follow your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely. The next one we did was to recognize that you've changed. In mastering our craft, there's so often that we get into this propensity of looking at how we used to be. 5 years ago, I used to be able to run up the hill.
Yeah, so used to run, and now I don't run. Yeah.
So stay present to what's going on, what's real, what's happening for you in that moment.
Yeah.
And work with that. Work with that. It's such a crucial piece around mastering your craft too, isn't it? Not listening to that inner critic.
No, there's no inner critic in me. Not at all. Absolutely not at all. Clearly they've all come up here on this top tips to mastering your craft. The next one is be aware of your bandwidth.
Yeah.
And I love the way that it was said, because it's just being aware. The moment you're aware, you can actually deal with things. But being aware of what that looks like for you, not anyone else, makes a big difference. And Moira actually brought in the 4 agreements, and we haven't spoken about them for a while, which there was actually a point for probably 6 months where they were literally in every single
there really was
conversation we were doing. Yeah. But the 4 agreements was always do your best.
Yeah.
So always do your best. And we talked about our PEMS at the start. So if you're feeling a little bit off,
it's okay.
Then do your best for what you can right now.
Yeah.
If you haven't eaten, do your best. If you've overeaten, just do your best. So be aware of that bandwidth, because that gives yourself permission to function in this world without turning yourself inside out.
Precisely. Then this next tip is kind of multi-layered, because it's about speaking up, but it was about acknowledging where you're at, and then speak from your heart and find your tribe. So it's like, if you've got a wee bit of a wobble, then you need to kind of acknowledge, got a wee bit of a wobble, and reach out. You reach out to, oh, hey, I need a wee bit of space, or I'm feeling a wee bit delicate, so can you just, hold space for me, or ask people for, can you run this errand for me, or can you? So it's a really, this is speaking up, but it's also, there's a bit pieces of awareness and really checking in with your heart. And if you think about it, this is a beautiful lead on from the bandwidth. What's your bandwidth? Okay, I'm a wee bit depleted here, so I need some help, right?
I think that's actually and I'm going to say the masculine and feminine, or the male and female. I think men are good to ask for help apart from driving directions. That's the old statistics. But I think us women go, oh no, we can do it. I don't want any help. I can do this. I've got to do this. I've got myself in the situation. I've got to get myself out, and I don't know why we being females put our superwoman knickers on more than the men put their supermen undies on the outside of their clothes. Actually, they'd probably be quite happy doing that sort of stuff. But I love when you talked about speaking up, but it's okay to speak up.
It is.
Like, it's actually okay, because people generally want to help.
Yeah.
And, they generally want to help in whatever way. So I think that's important with that one. And of course, then if you're going to speak up, there's Moira and I.
That's right. And
Moira and I,
remember, you're worthy of speaking up and asking for
Mm.
support, for help, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
totally. The next is it's ever evolving and ever
Yeah.
evolving.
It's an ever evolving
There's
process.
a word and a half in there. Yeah. It's ever evolving is the mastering.
Yes.
And this is top tips to mastering your craft, not top tips to master, top tips to mastering. So it's just going to carry on. We're just going to carry on. It's just going to carry on. It's just going to carry on from that.
But this is the tip where you talked about study and implement.
And so I actually had that as a separate tip, but yeah,
did you?
study.
Okay, study and implement, and then I had suggested that there's a step in the middle, so it would be study, contemplate, and then integrate or implement, right?
Yeah.
And you also said be okay with walking away.
Yep. If it, and the words I wrote down was trust your inner wisdom.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't,
that's funny. I had that one as a separate tip.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if it doesn't fit, change it. That's it. That's where I talked about going to that.
That's right.
Horse. My God, that horse. It actually just had a physical reaction going back to that. Just went, oh, I remember the smell of that carpet. I remember, but it just didn't feel right. It just, and I did check in with my head over my heart and go, does this feel, so just be okay with speaking up. And if it doesn't feel right.
Definitely. And to the point that you were saying about trusting is like trusting your inner wisdom, but follow your intuition. Don't get too leap back into your head, and your head says, oh, but I paid for this, so I said I was going to do it and I have to tough it out and put up with this. No, if in mastering your craft, it's about, okay, this is what's going on, and walk with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just couldn't have stayed any longer. Yeah.
I don't know whose turn is it.
I don't know, I don't know. Well, I will say release your comparison to others.
Okay,
I know that was a Moira
that was
tip,
the next one. Yep.
Yeah, that was actually one Moira had said. So release your comparison to others. And this is where we talked about owning what's in them is in you.
Yeah.
Your way.
That's how come you're seeing it. So interpret it as to what's the gift in you.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And knowing that there's 4,700 plus characteristic traits that everybody has, and we pull them out when we need to. So find out where you do that stuff that you've been blinded to or infatuated by or challenged by, and own it within you, because just that alone allows your shoulders to relax and you just come into your heart instead of being crazy in the brain.
Totally. The next tip that I have is self-care. I liked what you said about stay on the train. And we were talking about self-care. So self-care is priority number one, but you've got to do the things that work for you. And that's when I suggested to make sure that you're doing self-care for your physical body, self-care for your emotional, self-care for your mindset, for your mental spirit, and your spiritual connection. So also have some check-in, does it work for you? Do you like this kind of meditation? Do you like that kind of practice? And tweak as needed.
Well, the next tip was be flexible.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's totally it. Be aware of it, and see if there's any patterns, but be flexible, be okay with shifting the goalposts and moving things around and doing whatever. Yeah.
And trying on new things and being pleasantly surprised. Like, who knew I do like doing this type of thing?
Who knew that I didn't like doing this?
Yeah, there's that as well.
It's only because everyone told me I had to go to this course. Everyone said, you've got to go to this course. This is really going to help you. I was like, really? Doesn't really light me up. And I listened to everyone. And invested all that. Yeah.
Didn't listen to you though.
No.
Oh, you did. Oh, you did ultimately.
Yeah. In the end, when it was really necessary.
Yep. The next one I have is we riffed a wee bit about the word mastering, and this was one that you did, Deb, that basically was inviting people to reframe or get a real felt sense of what does it look like to you.
Mm.
And if it's a finite thing, like you were talking about of, oh, it means I'm going to get 100% on this test. What's next? Right? What's the next part? So really getting a sense of what does that, and is it an evolving thing? We already talked about that ever evolving process. So allowing yourself the process.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when Moira talked about, I talked about that. The next one was actually release that perfection.
Yeah.
And that's
perfectionism.
The perfectionism. And Moira's just said it's a process about the what's next, but that's exactly it. I had actually had that down. It's a process. Release that perfectionism.
Yeah. So I don't think it as a block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Freeze and release. No. Yeah.
No.
And what's the last tip, Moira? You can say what the last tip is, which is my favorite.
Last tip
Surprise.
It's got glitter in it.
Ta-da!
Celebrate and appreciate. Have gratitude for who you are, what you get to do, what you've already done, what you've put into motion, what you've decided that doesn't resonate. Just have gratitude and appreciate the juicy, awesome, auspicious journey that you're on. We're all on playing, because
tomorrow you're on a different journey. Yeah. Yeah.
Ever evolving, right?
Yeah, and I think I love ending on that one anyway. But that's a beautiful one, because then we go into, because we've ended our tips now, but we're actually going to go into our pens, which is what we rated ourselves at the start, which is our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And when I think about that, when Moira talked about celebrating your journey, it's appreciate that. I mean, I was a 1.5 and I know Moira was a 2, but appreciate where you were when you first started this conversation, listening to this conversation, and where you are now. And if you've gone to a large number, appreciate it. And if you've gone to a lesser number, then appreciate that. Like, there's no right or wrong in this. And I think that's a beautiful way for that. So in saying that, Moira was a 2, I was a 1.5. Where are you right now, Moira?
I am at a 0. But of course.
Yeah. And I'm a 0 too. I'm a 0. So listeners, where are you? Where are you at? Let us know. Let us know. Did your number shift? Did it go higher? Did it go lower? Like, let's get nosy. Let us know. We'd love to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you liked today, if you love today, but if you actually like today, our deliciously motivated mindset conversation, got to get this one right. On top tips to mastering a craft, the next step is engage in conversation with others about it.
Yeah. Bring
them into our Facebook group, engage into that conversation there, and just say, hey, what's your craft? My craft is this. What's your favorite tip? Like, we would love to know. We'd love to see that engagement go on between you as you are mastering your craft.
Definitely.
I want to know what I personally would like to know. What one's your favorite? As I'm looking at these, I don't know what my favorite is. It's probably the last one. Celebrate your journey. Gratitude. It's probably that. But then I also I love the first one. Believe in yourself with a certainty. So I don't know what my favorite is. I don't know what my favorite is.
I would go with trusting your inner wisdom and follow your intuition. I think that's probably my favorite.
Okay.
But I like all of them.
Yeah, they're all very. Yeah, I know. So let us know what one you love. We're not going to ask you to rate them from a 0 to 10 each particular one, unless you want to. You're welcome to. But I would like to thank everybody for listening today. For us to share our wisdom and to allow us to master our craft in our way that makes us feel fulfilled to help others in their world. So that's our deliciously motivated mindset conversation with Debz and Moira. And we are signing off for the day. Thank you very much. And we appreciate you coming to listen. And you will hear us on the very next podcast if you're going forward or back. Yes. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Moira.
Thanks, dear Deb. Thanks, listeners. Talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.